Effectiveness of the control method of the invasive 𝒄𝒂𝒍𝒂 calendula on the coast of A Mariña, Lugo. Project carried out by María Bouso Posada. Invasive exotic plants are one of the main threats to biodiversity conservation worldwide. Unlike natural migrations, biological invasions are caused by human action, which involves biogeographic jumps impossible in nature and of unknown consequences. This can sometimes lead to the naturalization and spread of a species that can have dramatic consequences in ecosystems. We speak of an invasive species when a species from a different geographic area is either intentionally or accidentally introduced into an area where it naturalizes, reproduces, and spreads, increasing its extent and affecting in some way the invaded ecosystem. The presence of foreign elements in ecosystems can affect environmental conditions, the food chain, and nutrient cycles. The negative effects on native species are multiple: competition for resources, introduction of pathogens, or species associated to invaders. And further to this, there are also other problems associated with change in habitat conditions, like alteration of the hydrological cycle, nitrification, or indirect effects on cycles of disturbance. On our coast, we can find numerous invasive species, among which are 𝒄𝒂𝒍𝒂 calendula, 𝘕𝒄𝒂𝒍𝒂 edulis, Rapana venosa, and Creepypatella dilatata stenauto. 𝒄𝒂𝒍𝒂 calendula is a species native to South Africa, especially the Cape region, introduced intentionally in different areas for ornamental use, ground cover, and even as a medicinal plant, which tells us that it is an invasive plant. Worldwide, it is distributed mainly in the Cape region where it is native, much of Europe and Australia, and in occasional populations in North and South America, where it is invasive. In Europe, it was first detected in Portugal in the 19th century, and in Spain in the early 20th century. As for Galicia, its presence has been known since 1900, and it is only found on the coast, abounding from A Guarda to Ribadeo. In the inner areas, we can find it in some zones, but not naturalized. 𝒄𝒂𝒍𝒂 calendula is an annual or perennial plant that grows in rosettes. It has an unrooted decumbent stem and pinnatised hairy leaves. Between the months of March and June, it produces yellow inflorescences formed by florets, with discolored flowers and black florets. In terms of reproduction, it is a species that produces a large amount of seeds capable of remaining in the soil seabank in a dormant state for a long time, which can be significant enough to ensure the survival of the population. In addition, it can also reproduce vegetatively. Regarding the plant cycle, germination occurs after the autumn rains, and in spring the seedlings already have rapid vegetative growth, completing the cycle in summer. It is a ruderal plant that prefers nitrophilous and disturbed areas. It mainly occupies dune communities and sandy, disturbed and coastal soils, as well as rocky outcrops, from sea level to 200 meters. The main environmental factor that limits its presence to those areas is temperature. It is a thermophilic plant, incapable of resisting frost, so it needs to live in areas where the effect of the sea moderates the temperatures, especially in winter. 𝒄𝒂𝒍𝒂 calendula is a species that presents a high dispersion through the achenes, fruits that have a woolly surface that allows them to attach to any surface and be transported by animals, which is known as 𝒄𝒂𝒍𝒂, or by vehicles' wheels, which can explain the invasion of the banks and areas close to roads and parking lots. In addition, these fruits can also be carried by the queen for their dispersion, more commonly known as an 𝒄𝒂𝒑. Another possibility of expansion, but less frequent, is by vegetative propagation through storms. On the coast of A Mariña Lucense, the species is mainly distributed in the most anthropoid habitats, that is to say, on the site of roads, parking lots, and recreational areas. In addition, it is also present in some habitats included within the Annex 1 of the Habitats Directive, even reaching the margins of some priority ones, as is the case of the 4040 of the dry coastal Atlantic heads of 𝒓𝒄𝒂𝒍𝒂. Out of all habitats included in this atlas, both the general invasion it presents in 4030, habitat of dry European marshes, and in 1230, habitat of cliffs with vegetation on the Atlantic and Baltic coasts stand out, since, as mentioned above, it is a species that presents easy to settle on rocky outcrops. Among the possible types of impact that 𝒄𝒂𝒂𝒃 calendula can have in the area, those affecting the modification of the composition of the communities, especially of native flora, stand out. They can affect directly by occupying the ecological niche of numerous autochthonous and ophitic species, displacing them from their native area through competition for water and space, as well as the alteration of the environment and giving rise, as a consequence, to monospecific areas. In addition, it also produces a reduction in phylogenetic and functional diversity. Indirectly, since it is a species with strikingly colored flowers, it can attract numerous insects that facilitate its pollination and, as a consequence, its dispersion. This is very typical of invasive plants because, as a general rule, they tend to have showy flowers, which means that they play a central role in the plant pollination network and can cause a negative impact on the rest of the native present flora. Other forms of impacts that the species can have lie in the soil. 𝒄𝒂𝒂𝒃 calendula, like other invasive plants, can disrupt underground fungal mutualists in different ways, for example, eliminating those that benefit native species. They can modify proportions of the elements of the fungal community and co-introduce mycorrhizal fungi to which they are associated, increasing their capacity to spread, which can have a negative impact on the native present flora. Among the main procedures for the eradication of 𝒄𝒂𝒃 calendula, manual removals stand out, a procedure carried out in the study population in the year 2015, especially at 𝒄𝒂𝒍𝒆𝒄𝒂. This procedure consists of the manual removal of the individuals with wedding hoe from the outer limit of the invaded area towards the interior in a progressive manner, making sure to remove all fragments of the plant to prevent regrowth of rhizomes or tubers. It is important to bear in mind that the process must be repeated at least a second time to ensure that all fragments of the plant are removed. Otherwise, it will not be effective at all, as happens in the study population, where it happens to have 287 square meters in 2015 within the protected space to have 982 square meters at present. In the event that the plant is invading a large area, physical eradication techniques can be used with solarization or covering with a polyethylene plastic cover. If among the 𝒄𝒂𝒃 calendula plants there are individuals of native flora to be protected, holes can be made in the plastic cover so that these plants can survive. As far as chemical eradication is concerned, 𝒄𝒂𝒃 calendula can be treated with different herbicides. However, it is necessary to take measures against the emergence of resistance, because several studies carried out in Australia have shown the emergence of a biotype resistance to herbicides. After completion of this work, the main conclusions obtained are: invasive exotic species, including 𝒄𝒂𝒃 calendula, have significant impact on native communities. 𝒄𝒂𝒃 calendula is a ruderal plant, so the habitats must be kept in a good state of conservation to achieve a high integrity of the system and thus hinder the entry of the invasive species. Manual eradication carried out on 𝒄𝒂𝒍𝒆𝒄𝒂 in 2015 was not successful, because since then the population has increased its distribution exponentially. This may be due to the fact that the action was carried out after the flowering period of the species, therefore there is more possibility of seed dispersal. Eradication work is not sufficient to combat 𝒄𝒂𝒃 calendula, as it is necessary to carry out restoration measures afterwards to keep the habitats in a good state of conservation and hinder the entry of the invasive species. For example, by planting native species of the habitat after eradication to prevent it from regrowth.